Man-eating tigers usually turn to hunting humans due to old age, injuries, or revenge. Man-eating leopards, however, hunt humans even when they are healthy and fit, making them even more dangerous. This particular leopard, known as the Panama man-eater, is speculated to have begun hunting humans after tasting human flesh from the corpse of an infected person during a cholera outbreak in the region. At first, the leopard was fast, precise, and very careful. It was so careful, in fact, that it was very rarely seen even while it took so many victims by itself. Hunters hunted and hunted, but to no avail. The big cat was too elusive. However, as time went on, the man-eater became more confident, going into homes and dragging away its victims, sometimes even while the family members watched in dismay. These attacks began around the beginning of the 20th century. In 1909, Jim Corbett, the same one that hunted down the Champawat tigress 2 years earlier, heard about the predicament and came over to help. In April of 1910, Corbett went to see a couple who had been attacked the previous night by the leopard. The man was barely injured, but his wife was mutilated. She had been attacked by the leopard, who dragged her across the room by her throat, during which the husband fought as hard as he could to free her. Eventually, the animal let go, but by then it was already too late. The woman had been severely injured. Corbett arrived and, after analyzing the situation, concluded that the woman would die anyways, even if medically treated. He felt sorry for the family, and not wanting this kind of thing to happen to anyone else, he took it upon himself to kill the beast. After hearing of attacks in a nearby village where 4 men had been killed, Corbett traveled 30 miles to meet the leopard. When there, he set up 2 goats as bait. The big cat took the first goat unnoticed before returning to devour the second one in pitch blackness. Though it was completely dark, Corbett knew where he had kept the goat, so when he heard the leopard trying to eat the goat, he fired at that direction, luckily wounding the cat. Seeing as he probably wounded the animal, Corbett went back to the village to gather some men to assist him. As he and his men approached the forest, the men dropped their torches and fled at the mere sight of the leopard. Despite being abandoned, Corbett stayed strong, and using the light from the dropped torches, he was able to see and shoot the man-eating leopard dead. This was the first leopard that Corbett had killed, and it was not until 16 years later that he would slay another one, the leopard of Rudraprayag, which he became more famous for than the Panama man-eater. The Panama man-eater is said to have had the most kill of all man-eaters, second only to the Champawat tigress, killing more than 400 people during its reign. In August 1895, the British government authorized the construction of the Uganda Railway, intended to connect the East African countries of Uganda and Kenya, so as to ease the movement of copper from Uganda. The railway was built from Mombasa to the shores of Lake Victoria starting from 1896 and finished 5 years later in 1901. George Whitehouse, an English civil engineer, was put in charge of the construction. Recruitment began, and soon about 36,000 persons were brought into work, a large portion of which were from British India. Not too long, everything was set and ready, and on the 30th of May, 1896, construction began. For 2 years, the workers did their job as they were told, whilst waiting for the arrival of new recruitments to relieve them. Everything was going smoothly until March of 1898, when something strange began to happen. Workers would sleep at night, only to wake up to 1 or 2 of their colleagues missing. Some nights they would be woken by screams, but by the time they would get out to check what was happening, all they would see was blood. Another member has disappeared. Understandably, many of the recruits were getting terrified. The people in charge would soon make moves to find out what was going on. It turned out 2 manless male Tsavo lions from the area were sneaking into the construction site at night and dragging workers away in order to feast on them. Other nearby settlements also reported of similar attacks. These 2 lions had grown fond of human meat and won't stop until they meet their demise. At first, only one of the lions would trespass and seize a prey, a human in this sense, before taking him away to share with the other. But soon they grew more confident and began attacking together, even in daylight. The workers built campfires and thorn fences made of whistling thorn trees around the camp in an attempt to scare the lions away, but they labored in vain. The attacks kept on happening. This time almost daily, the lions would leap over the fence or crawl under. Soon enough, workers began to flee the area. Hundreds deserted their duty and the project was put on hold. The colonial officers had to do something about this situation before it got worse. In that same year, 1898, Irish military officer, Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson, had arrived just days before the attacks begun to supervise the project. Patterson received reinforcements and was tasked with ending the menace once and for all. Patterson himself was worried. The project was in shambles, many of the workers had fled, and some even blamed him for the bad occurrences, since the attacks coincided with his arrival. The crew were becoming superstitious. Some even saw the lions as evil spirits sent to punish them for building on the Tsavo territory. Patterson, who had hunted tigers many times before, was confident in himself. He embarked on the mission with his men, searching and laying traps for these lions. Finally, after months of hunting and failing, on the 9th of December 1898, he sighted one of the lions in the terrain, pointed his high-caliber rifle at it, and fired. The bullet hit the lion's hind leg, after which it took off with the injury. The same lion returned at night to take revenge. It was stalking Patterson after dusk, when the latter noticed and shot at it again, this time with a more powerful rifle. The bullet went through the lion's shoulder and hit its heart. It was found dead the next day. It was now remaining one. The second lion was killed days later on 29th December, with a total of 9 shots fired at it before it finally succumbed. Patterson had shot it twice in the chest and once in the head whilst it was still trying to attack him, ending the peril once and for all. Patterson was commended for his success and bravery, and even the workers that had earlier threatened to kill him presented him a gift stating, "Sir, we, your overseer, timekeepers, mistaris and workmen, present you with this bowl as a token of our gratitude to you for your bravery in killing 2 man-eating lions at great risk to your own life, thereby saving us from the fate of being devoured by these terrible monsters who nightly broke into our tents and took our fellow workers from our side. In presenting you with this bowl, we all add our prayers for your long life, happiness and prosperity. We shall ever remain, sir, your grateful servants." Patterson would later publish his first book on the occasion titled The Man-Eaters of Tsavo. Construction resumed, the workers returned, and the bridge was completed in February 1899. The official report of the death caused by the lions is around 30, though some sources suggest there are about 135 victims involved, including some of the locals. In 1764, a beast resembling a wolf, yet not a wolf, arose from the forest of Gévaudan to terrorize its people. This animal mostly attacked women and children, abducting young lad from the field during cattle grazing and even attacking homes at times. At the early stage of the attacks, the French authorities had shrugged off these attacks as wild encounters, but as the number of bodies increased rapidly, the society as a whole became very worried. Most of these bodies were found mutilated, partially eaten, and sometimes totally headless. Soon enough, rumors began to spread. People said the beast possessed supernatural abilities. Some claimed it could walk on 2 feet like man, and others even went as far as believing that the creature was impervious to bullets and could resurrect itself even if it was killed. The attacks became so frequent that people began wondering if there were 2 of this beast instead of just 1. Some of the killings happened almost simultaneously, and so many victims were reported within a short period of time. The church entered into prayer for this forbidden creature. Gabriel Florent de Choiseul-Beaupre, Bishop of Mende, even made out the beast to be a scourge sent by God to punish men for their sins. Having had enough of these unfortunate incidents happening in his kingdom, King Louis XV decided to end the beast for good. He sent a series of hunters with resources to hunt down the beast, but they all failed. The king was getting impatient. To make matters worse, the English media was now mocking the French for being terrorized by one simple animal and the crown not being able to do anything about it. Finally, on June of 1765, Louis XV dispatched François Antoine, officer of the royal bedchamber, to take over the hunt from the incompetent Norman hunters last sent to kill the beast. On August 11th, 20-year-old Marie-Jeanne Vallée and company were crossing a certain small river with the help of a footbridge when all of a sudden the beast emerged from seemingly nowhere with its sharp teeth and claws ready to pounce on the girls. However, the girls weren't smiling, especially Vallée, who drove a bayonet fixed to a staff through the beast, after which it fell to the river, groaned heavily, and took off in a matter of seconds. As soon as he heard of the attack, Antoine rushed to the site and upon seeing the blood trails confirmed that the tale is true. Marie-Jeanne Vallée was commended for her actions. This was an opportunity to end the so-called wolf which has eluded them for so long, thought Antoine, given that the beast was now heavily wounded. On September 19th, a wolf pack comprising a large male wolf, a she-wolf and her offspring, was seen in St. Julien-des-Chazes. As soon as he heard the news, Antoine along with his men started preparing for hunt. Soon enough, Antoine reached the place the wolves were last seen. He positioned his men, among which were about 40 sharpshooters, around the forest so as to be ready for the wolves, no matter which direction they emerged from. And not long, one of the wolves appeared in front of Antoine and began charging towards him. Antoine stood his ground and fired at the wolf from a distance of 50 yards, injuring its right eye and shoulder, after which the wolf fell to the ground. However, just as Antoine turned to call his team to the situation, the wolf stood up and began running towards Antoine. Just then, one of the hunters, who turned out to be Antoine's cousin, noticed the wolf and shot at it, after which it attempted to flee but fell to the ground after covering a distance of 25 yards. This time it was dead. Antoine took the wolf to Surgeon Boulanger for autopsy. It was 6 feet long, 3 feet tall, and weighed 140 pounds. Even though no human parts were found in it, witnesses such as Marie-Jeanne Vallée and several others confirmed it was the beast. Without wasting any time, Antoine would head back to kill the remaining wolves, which included the she-wolf and her 2 whelps. He and his team would kill the she-wolf, one of her whelps, and injure the other whelp, which they assumed would die from its wounds. 2 months later, the attacks would resume. As surprised as they were, the villagers endured and waited for help from the French authority. However, when Louis XV banned newspapers from reporting any issue concerning the wolves any longer and refused to send help, the villagers took matters into their own hands. They formed groups of hunt parties to search for the wolf, but after searching for so long, they became hopeless and returned to their homes to prey. Fortunately though, during one of the hunts, on the 19th of June, 1767, at the slopes of Montmarchet, an innkeeper by the name Jean Chastel sighted the beast and killed it with an alleged silver bullet. After the kill, no other such attack was heard of again. 3 years of terror was finally ended. The animal Chastel killed was autopsied. The doctor couldn't make out what kind of creature it was. The remains of the beast was displayed in public, during which several victims acknowledged that it was indeed that monster that had attacked them. The Beast of Gévaudan reigned for 3 years, 1764 to 1767, making an estimated 210 attacks, which led to the death of about 113 people, most of whom were partly eaten, while about 49 were severely wounded. The leopard of Rudraprayag was a male leopard, a vicious beast said to have killed more than 125 people throughout its reign of terror. This leopard began hunting humans from an early age, probably due to food scarcity and having tasted human flesh through corpses of infected people. The attacks began in 1918 when the leopard killed an individual from the nearby village of Benji in India. Unfortunately, the man would become the first of many, as the leopard would go on a killing spree, breaking down doors, leaping through windows, and even clawing through the mud or thatch walls of huts to enter and drag the occupants out before tearing them apart. The villagers were afraid to go out alone at night, and some didn't even leave their house at all after dark. Both units of Gurkha and British soldiers were dispatched to hunt down the animal, but they were unsuccessful. Despite setting traps and making use of poisons, the big cat was still at large. Hunters were recruited, they tried their best, but still nothing. Years has passed by and the villagers were becoming more terrified as the attacks continued. However, in 1925, Jim Corbett, an experienced hunter, heard about the man-eating leopard and made a decision to kill it. After about a year, on 2nd May 1926, he did so, killing the animal and bringing peace of mind to the people of Benji. In the late 20th century and beginning of the 21st century, a male Nile crocodile named Gustave was forced to be reckoned with. The crocodile is estimated to weigh 2,000 pounds at a length of 6.1 meters. The reptile's unusual size had forced it to cease hunting its normal prey such as fish and zebra and turn to much bigger ones like buffaloes, hippopotamus, and sometimes humans. The big bad croc from Burundi roamed the banks of the Ruzizi River and the northern shores of Lake Tanganyika and is said to have taken about 200 to 300 lives, and for so long was never caught. In fact, we're not even sure if the crocodile was ever captured or killed. However, in 2019, there was a report by a writer for Travel Africa magazine that Gustave had been killed, but no evidence was presented. The name Gustave was given to the crocodile by Patrice Fay, a herpetologist who studied the reptile for some time. This was a male Indian leopard that terrorized the central provinces of British India in the early 20th century, to the extent that the people were scared to leave their homes, and even when they did, they made sure they were armed. The leopard would attack every 2 to 3 days and would change location each time. Soon enough, a certain British hunter, name unknown, took up the task of ending the big cat. The hunter tried his best and did everything he could, but killing this cat seemed impossible. The leopard was still on with its killing rampage. It would go into tents to drag out people who were vulnerable, take them to the forest and devour them down to the bone. However, after killing more than 150 people, mostly women and children, the leopard was ended by a Gond farmer, who from a distance of 5 yards fired a projectile from a gas pipe at the animal while it was busy devouring his goats. The farmer opened up the dead animal, took out its stomach contents and skin, which he presented to the hunter. The hunter found a ball of human hair from the contents, confirming that it was indeed the man-eater. Sloth bears are generally seen as these harmless, noisy creatures who only attack humans whom they deemed as a threat. However, this particular sloth bear in 1957 was very cruel and violent. It would attack villagers for seemingly no reason at all, killing many in the process. Those who were lucky or unlucky to escape were never the same again. The bear mostly attacked the face with its sharp claws and teeth. Several of the victims who survived were left heavily injured. Some lost one or both of their eyes, some their nose, and others had huge claw marks or holes in their cheek. Among the ones it killed, many of the corpses were found faceless and some were largely eaten. This bear was horrifying. The bear began its attacks in Nagvara, a locality in Bangalore city, capital of Mysore state, India. One day, a 22-year-old man accidentally disturbed the bear while it was feeding on fallen figs. The bear wasn't the forgiving type. It attacked the young man, inflicting heavy injuries on him. When the young man's father heard of this, he was distraught. Not letting this slide, Alan Bucks, as he was known, contacted one of his friends, Kenneth Anderson, to come home and avenge his son. He explained the situation to him, how the bear terrorized the village and so on, asking him to come and hunt down the unruly bear. Thinking that the hunt will be easy and short, Anderson rushed to the village with just an electric torch, a rifle, and a single change of clothes. As soon as he arrived, he began looking for the bear. After more than a month of hunting and failing, Anderson received information of the bear's whereabouts, after which he left in the evening in search of it. After looking for about 6 hours, Anderson sighted the bear in the forest at about 11 p.m. and shot it at the chest, ending the terror once and for all. The bear is said to have killed a dozen people and injured 24 others heavily. Some of the locals suggest that the bear was taking revenge on humans after they stole her cubs. Others say that the bear had once abducted a young girl as its mate, who was later saved by the villagers. So the sloth bear became angry and is back to punish them. However, the slayer of the bear himself, Anderson that is, believed the bear to have been wounded by humans, thereby changing its natural behavior. The Champawat tiger was a man-eating Bengal tigress that terrorized the people of Nepal in the early 1900s. The tigress had somehow broken 2 of its canine teeth, one upper right and the other lower right, and was unable to hunt its natural prey effectively any longer, thereby turning to humans who were soft and easy to catch. The broken teeth is said to have been caused by a bullet fired at the animal during a period when hunters hunted tigers in large amounts. The tigress began its attacks in the late 1890s, going on a killing spree in Nepal, where it killed and devoured people like nothing. The Nepal village of Rupal first began noticing that many of their fellows were disappearing rapidly every day. They found the attacks to have been perpetrated by a tigress, which they tried all they could to catch but failed. The tiger was as cunning and intelligent as they've never seen in any tiger before. The Champawat tiger attacked mostly during the day and took majorly women and girls, some of whom were just trying to feed their livestock. The attacks were sometimes so rapid and many that people began to think that there were 2 of the tigers. At a point, the people of Nepal could take it no more, involving the army in the hunt along with some villagers and many other hunters. Despite their efforts, the tigress still couldn't be caught. Seeing that it was being surrounded and hunted by huge troop, the tigress moved to the neighboring district of Champawat, part of Kumaon in Uttarakhand, India, having killed about 200 people in Nepal already. In Kumaon, the tigress continued its terror, starting from a young girl who was cutting grass in a certain area, and though she was likely with other women, she was somewhat isolated, making it easier for the tigress to attack. She was doomed. The animal ambushed her, devouring her immediately. The tigress would kill one, then move far away to a different location where it would kill another, making it hard to catch. The British government, who controlled India at the time, dispatched trained hunters to resolve the situation at once. The hunters hunted and hunted, still nothing. However, in 1907, a man by the name Jim Corbett was asked by a British official to assist in the hunt. Corbett had never killed a tiger before, but was familiar with nature. He knew about animal behavior and effective hunting strategies. Corbett went into the hunt very determined and confident. He is said to have requested that the other hunters be called off and the bounty placed on the tigress be withdrawn. Now alone in the forest with no distractions, he began setting traps, looking for trails, and monitored the animal's behavior and pattern carefully. Not long, the Champawat tiger attacked again, killing in cold blood a young woman who was simply collecting firewood in the forest. Corbett quickly followed the trail and found the tigress nearby. For the first time, he was face to face with the monster. The tigress, upon seeing the hunter, rushed towards him with flair and rage. At that instant, he fired a shot at the beast, but missed. The sound of the shot startled the tigress, who dashed into the forest. Corbett returned to the village in order to hunt another day. The next time he was going for hunting, Corbett recruited the village Tehsildar, a land revenue officer, along with a bunch of people whom he instructed to make loud noises in the forest, either by hitting drums or some other way, in order to bring the tigress out of hiding. The plan worked. Not long after the noise began, the tigress emerged from the forest, not knowing that Corbett and the Tehsildar were waiting for it with guns. As soon as the tigress was sighted, Corbett fired 3 shots at it. The first bullet missed, but the remaining 2 hit the beast, injuring it heavily. Having seen Corbett now, the tigress charged towards him with fury, not minding its injury. Unfortunately for Corbett, he had just ran out of bullet. Looking at the beast charging towards him with his empty gun in his hand, Corbett quickly took the Tehsildar's gun and fired straight at the tigress, killing it at the spot. The animal was found to have 2 broken teeth and estimated to be between 11 and 12 years of age. Corbett became a celebrity. He was appreciated and was called upon by other communities to help hunt down their own man-eaters. However, many of the animals, especially tigers, that Corbett took down were found to have similar backstories. Most of them had lost the ability to hunt their normal prey due to injuries inflicted on them by humans, specifically hunters. Corbett didn't like this, so he went from being a hunter of tigers to being a protector of them. He became a conservationist, helping to found the Haley National Park, which was the first national park in India. It was later renamed Jim Corbett National Park in his honor. In total, the Champawat tiger killed 436 people, that is the ones that were recorded, and holds the Guinness World Record for the most human kills by a tiger. It is said to have killed more people than any other single animal in history. This was a man-eating tiger that put the people of Bhimashankar in terror. Bhimashankar is a village located in the Indian village of Maharashtra. It reigned for a period of 2 years in the 1940s, killing as many as 100 people, as was said, even though only 2 bodies were ever found. Many hunters and hunt parties tried but failed to slay the tiger. It was not until an Ambigaon-based hunter named Ismail came along that the situation was resolved. Ismail came prepared and determined. However, after narrowly escaping death when he faced the tiger for the first time, Ismail invited Kenneth Anderson, yes, the same Kenneth Anderson that killed the sloth bear, to help him. Working together, they were able to find and kill the man-eater.